Would you put your safety and your life in the hands of a prostitute? Welcome to Bearded Ministry. My name is Josh Nichols and this is Monday Minute. Monday Minute is a place where we get your week started off with a quick Bible study, and currently we're going through the Women of the Bible series. So if you're new here, go check out some of the previous videos, but if you've been here before, you know what time it is, and it's time to get your week started off with some of that biblical redemption. Come on! Let's get started. In the previous 3 episodes, we talked about some incredibly important women throughout the story of Moses. You know, with the Israelites escaping captivity, Exodus, and before entering the Promised Land. In this episode, we're going to be talking about Rahab. Rahab's story is found in the book of Joshua in chapters 2 through 6. We learn about Rahab throughout the more known story of Jericho, or better yet, the fall of Jericho. Jericho was a Canaanite city, and it was heavily fortified, and it was in the direct path of the advancing Israelites. But before the Israelites went to battle, Joshua actually sent 2 spies to check out Jericho ahead of time. And more specifically, they went to the home of a prostitute named Rahab. Well, the king of Jericho actually found out about the 2 spies, and he actually sent a message directly to Rahab saying for her to turn over the men because, well, there's spies in the city. But instead of Rahab actually turning them over to the king, she actually hid the spies instead. Why would she do that? Well, after Rahab sends the king's messengers on a wild goose chase, she actually confesses to the spies. She basically says that she knows that God has given them this land and that all the people are terrified. They heard about how God had dried up the Red Sea for the Israelites to cross. Remember Moses parting the Red Sea, Exodus, that whole story? And how the Israelites had destroyed 2 kings east of the Jordan River. Let's actually look at Joshua chapter 2 verse 11 where it says, "When we heard of it, our hearts melted in fear and everyone's courage failed because of you. For the Lord your God is God in heaven above and on earth below." Then Rahab actually asked for the Lord to spare her and her family from death. The spies agreed to this, but there was 3 conditions that she had to follow through on. Rahab must hang a scarlet rope from her window, her whole family must be inside of her home, and she must not betray the spies after they leave. The spies escape and they relay what they have learned to Joshua. Then we see the story of the Israelites actually crossing the Jordan River. FYI, God stopped the river so that they could cross on dry land just like the Red Sea. Then they get to Jericho and God tells them to march around the city for 6 days. Then on the 7th day to march around the city 7 times, blow your trumpets, yells, and the walls of Jericho will fall down. They do this and then they end up conquering the city, but not before the 2 spies actually went in to save Rahab and her family. We know that Rahab was a Gentile and a prostitute who lived in a wicked city, but God used this unlikely hero to fulfill his plan for his chosen people. And to add to this, this was actually one of the first times that a Gentile had converted in the Bible. We see this in chapter 6 verse 25. But isn't this just a picture of how God sees people today? A sinner living in a corrupt city or the world that we know of, but through her faith is now known as one of the chosen people of God. No matter what you've done or where you live, God loves you and he is willing to save you through your faith in him. Thank you for joining this episode of Monday Minute. If you enjoyed, hit that like button, and if you're feeling like it, share this video with a friend who needs to hear it. And don't forget to tune in next week. We'll be back with the story of Delilah. But until then, get out there and tell someone that God loves them today, okay? Peace!